things that they started. And it's just a concern, although I think it's pretty straightforward to say get a new permit and that's the way it is. Are we putting up a roadblock, are we stopping some of these people that would otherwise finish their buildings from finishing them? And is that really, I mean, we can do it, but is that really in the best interest of the town to have somebody say, oh, okay, never mind, I won't site my house then? At the same time, John, to your point is, so should we spend $1,000 on the inspections when we, and then go in the red? I don't like that idea either.
No, I'm thinking the inspections, we ought to be compensated for those, but their initial impact fees, I mean, they were paid. Building permit, they didn't finish, but the impact fees were paid.
Yeah, so if the impact fees were paid, I think they paid the impact fees for that lot. Similar to if you come in and do a redevelopment or an addition, if the impact fees were paid, we don't recharge the impact fees. Once you're connected to water, you're connected to water. Once you've built a lot and caused a traffic impact, you pay that fee and it's done. If you change that, then it's different. If you went from a 3/4 inch meter to a 2-inch meter, then we would charge more. For example, if you.
Yeah, so, I mean, minimal, we need to at least charge for the increases. And should there be some kind of a time limit? Now, this has gone back, what, out of date, past the 2 years, it's been what?
Yeah, so this was 2013, so the permit was valid in 14 and 15. Forget when it was issued in the month, but roughly for 14 and 15, now they're back in 2018.
So about 4 to 5 years passed.
If it was an easy one, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, we do the easy ones ourselves.
Okay, we'll turn it over to you.
That's why it's here.
So Eric didn't
Eric
do
didn't
that
want to do it
justice.
himself either.
Yeah, I think it did really good. This particular dwelling is one that we've had complaints on. They said people have been living in it. Lights are on late at night, there's partying going on, so I went out to investigate that, and there's not even any power to it. I mean, the power pole out there, the drop is down, there's no wires in it, so there's not any wire, no water, no wires, no electricity.
So if somebody's been at, it's broken transients.
Well,
If somebody parked,
I'm just saying it was empty when I was there, so.
it was empty when you inspected.
Where is that property located there?
It's right next to John Anderson, so just, if you go down Southfield Road, turn left, it'll be a half a block on your right.
Just below the water tank.
Yeah, straight out from the water tank, straight north, but right up.
So it'd be a really good thing to get this thing completed.
Like I said, what worries me is we're setting a precedence, because it's not like this is the only one in the town.
Yeah,
So
that's the thing.
on one hand, build your the reason we have an expiration date on these things is because we want you to get it done and not drag it out forever. At the same time, those that have not done that, we want to make life harder for them. And like I said, if it was
And
easy, we
the
would.
whole impact fees and everything else, except that they paid for water hookup and that.
Yeah, so
So
water-
that wouldn't matter.
So again, the water hookup is if they paid it back whenever they paid it, and then usually we collect the impact fees and the building fees at the same time because the guy's been wanting to build and we collect it all. We have collected the impact fees at one time and then done the building years later. And so the impact fees, I think, are a separate one.
When the hookup fees for the water, when they're done, whatever, so many years back, is there a monthly charge that comes with that, or is that only after the meter's put in and going to the house?
Typically, that's been when the water is available for them to get.
So when they pay it, then that's in that.
Usually,
Yeah.
once the meter's set, that's when they start
Okay,
getting
is there a
billed.
meter set for that?
No.
No,
Okay. So that's good, other than they paid the impact, or paid the fee to hook up.
Maybe, we're
Maybe.
still, we're
Maybe,
looking at
it was not on the building form, but Eric and I both recall that being a big deal and getting it, so I'm trying to find the document where they paid.
Where they're paid.
because it was discussed a lot, because it would be really the first hookup after leaving our tank. That would constitute the first residential hookup.
If this was a year just past their 2 years, I don't think it would be such a major discussion, but when it's gone 4 and 5 years now, it's,
What's the difference between the permit fees from then and now?
I didn't calculate what they've changed, the permit fees really haven't gone up much.
Okay,
I believe, it was about 25, rough, don't quote me on the number, it was about $2,500 was the permit fee the first time, and I ran it again and it was under 3,000. So the incremental increase is relatively small. The thing is, we did the inspections, the town spent most of that money on inspections and other things, and so there's more inspections left than there is. I know it's not a budget. If it were a budget, there's more money, there's more stuff to do than we have budget for. So it seems appropriate to charge them something.
then be, I
Well,
know
yeah,
for the.
But do we charge them for the whole permit fee, because it's a whole new permit? Do we just say, here's our permit fee schedule, pay the whatever it is? Or is there a hybrid, and if so, what is that
So-
hybrid that's fair and, not arbitrary or capricious?
yeah, we're making a precedent, so we need to make our precedents.
And
What would be fair? They're gonna pay a penalty one way or the other. And then the increased fees, so, but it wouldn't be as much as if it was total
so,
from scratch again.
so I think for now, let's just call it 2,500 and 3,000 and forget the pennies for a minute.
Okay.
We could charge them, we could say, here's a whole new permit fee, they've already paid their deposit, we're gonna review their plans, we're gonna tell them that it no longer meets code, they gotta make changes, and we're gonna charge them $3,000. That's one option.
Yeah.
I guess to throw out the other option is we could charge them, we could say, okay, your permit's still valid, and we're gonna do all the inspections and wrap it up and not charge anymore. Just, I guess, to lay out the two extremes.
No, that wouldn't be right either.
Oh.
It's somewhere in the middle.
Well, so there's bracketed, and
There's
now
our
we need your guidance
lines,
for the
there's our
middle.
lines that we gotta follow. When they paid the 2,500
Yeah.
originally,
That's been spent. Inspections, right?
Yeah. The vast majority of that the town then used to have inspections and other issues with the water and things that came up related to the permit enforcement over the years.
so maybe
Or over the time period.
60-70% of it's been used.
More than that, so we
More
had,
than
we
that.
had $400 left of 2,500, so we spent
Okay.
the vast majority, 80%, whatever it was. And the numbers on, that's the numbers on this one, the numbers on the next one will obviously be
Okay.
different.
But if he pretty much keeps the same plan, it doesn't change much other than some electrical.
And I'm using electrical as an example, it could change beams, it could change whatever the new code says, right?
Okay?
I just use the electrical as one
There's gonna
example.
be an increase fee for, or there's gonna be, not an increase, there's gonna be fees for going over, re-going over and upgrading or changing the building.
There certainly could be.
So you gotta take that in consideration. And and your basic increase, so you got about approximately a $500 right there increase from when the fees were then and what they are now. And then you've got to re-go over those plans.
Not necessarily, I think that's what we're here to determine. Is his old plans good enough? Do we say that the old plans are still active? And do we charge half the fees because it's expired? Do we meet him in the middle? So he's not incurring more cost getting plan checked, going clear back through the whole process. Do we say his plans are good enough, they was good enough when it was issued?
Yeah, what if,
But we need to cap that, so
What
we're
if-
looking at a 5-year, so we need to have that in this
yeah,
motion.
so what
If you
if?
get something that's way older, than 72, we're not even close.
So what if we went, when you go past that 2-year mark, that you have a percentage?
I was, based on Eric's comment, I'm just throwing it out, of, 10% a year. So at the end of 10 years,
I'm
it's
thinking the same
it's done.
thing.
But I'm just throwing it out for food for thought.
Yeah,
Shoot it down.
I was thinking exactly that same thing and that same figure.
10% per year?
So you get your 2 years, and then year 3, you charge 10%, year 4, you charge 20%, by year, 12, I guess, from the date of issuance. Because you get your 2 years plus the 10 years.
Yeah.
But 10 years passed. then
So
you're
10 years have expired, it's gone.
Other than a water hookup.
Yeah, what do you think, how much code's changed a lot in 10 years? So that's,
Beat it up, it was.
Yeah, I know.
You said 50% at 5 years, so if I do the math, I can get that one to work, and there's the policy.
that was a set line, I didn't have
Well, I know, but you said 50% were roughly 5 years, that's where 10% a year came from.
I did, I said it.
Maybe it's 20% a year. I mean, I was just throwing out ideas.
Well, I was more concerned about the timeline on when the code was actually,
And right now, they're updating them every 2 years. It's
Yeah.
the 2 years.
You have to
So-
review code every 2 years
The
and a building.
the International Building Code is on the odd year that they're generally doing updates. Most of the time, they're pretty minor. Now watch, there's some code official that's gonna read this and send me a nasty email.
yeah. But they do change it.
But there are changes, and whether they're major or minor really depends on what it is. This is a relatively simple barn, garage with a house, with, a small apartment type house on top. Others are full-blown houses, some could be commercial. What sections of the code are affected, it depends. Some of them are major, some of them are minor. You're right, 10 years would be 5 permits, 5 code cycles.
Yeah. Oh, I just worry in 10 years how much changes, but then I think of 10 years ago, and it wasn't that long.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, things that have changed in the last 10 years of code are the, the structural things. So your headers and your trusses might not be right now.
So I think we might have some liability issues if we permit stuff that is not up to the current code.
I agree. That's why I said, we say his old permit is still good.
Yeah, that's a big difference. So we would have to go off the old permit, and then what if they just paid the difference between the fees they've already paid and the new fees?
I can certainly calculate that. Like, in this case, I don't know that would, I don't know how many inspections we have left. I suspect that wouldn't quite cover the costs. It might be very close.
How come?
And maybe we shouldn't be, and maybe we shouldn't be worried about that. I mean, maybe that's,
So small it wouldn't be a big difference.
well, I'm just, as a policy, maybe that's a good policy, and the way we run the permit, some of them are very complicated, and they require re-inspections and a lot of time, and we run in the red. We try really hard not to do it, but it happens.
Yeah.
Others go extremely smoothly, and we don't spend all the money. And what we do at the end of the year is we look at an average and say, are we doing okay?
Yeah.
Are there any extreme outliers in what happened there? Is there something in the code we should permit fees differently? And then as long as there's no major outliers and the net is about 0, we let it ride. If we start to get into the red and the town's subsidizing it, we raise rates. And I guess the opposite is in theory true. If we made a bunch of money, we'd lower rates, but that hasn't happened yet.
So what if we went with a 10%? But then in that, that if there is any significant changes, those would be added to that.
Significant is, you can't nail down significant.
Okay,
So I think they either have to come up to the current code or they don't. I think if you say significant, you're leaving it up to somebody else to decide,
Okay.
and that's
okay,
all it's gonna be.
so if there's changes from that code to when it was issued to present, then they would be whatever charges were incurred would be passed on to the.
Okay.
that permit. Would that be,
Well, the problem, because if we're going off the new code, then it has to go through the whole process again.
So that was my.
I have to,
Back
I
to
have to-
drawings.
So on the 10%, I
Yeah.
would set a minimum so that we could cover, build it, reviewing the plans again. Because if we're gonna bring it to the new code, we have to do the review. and
well, maybe
find it.
that first one should be 20% and 10% after that.
I'd say something like extend the permit, charge them the fees that make up to the current fees. Charge them the amount that brings us up to the current fees.
Okay, but then basically by paying that difference between the fee schedule then and the fee schedule now, we're extending their current permit and allowing them to finish.
Extend the current permit to let them finish. And we probably ought to set a year on
I
that,
was gonna just add, and
Like-
for how long?
whatever number of years that is, I don't know, but we ought to set a number of years and then you start over.
Can we have, let's see, can there be some kind of an application put in when something like this has occurred, where they've gone past the time that was allotted, and that has got to be readdressed? Some kind of a document, application to reinstate that permit?
I think the fees would do that. The fees they paid, I don't know that you want a separate document that you have to try and track for. I mean, clearly, we're already tracking this for, this is one of those that's sitting in the file cabinet.
Yeah, we have records, since the town took over the building process, we've got records of everything that's come in and inspections and whatnot. They're almost complete.
Still, I don't like that percentage thing and go,
The percentage is a great thing, except for it's a line that it's open to interpretation. If 60% was good last year, why isn't 70% good this year? Beyond your scope, and they just keep pushing it down the line, kicking the can down the line. If you let somebody build on 4.5 acres, then
right,
why isn't 4 acres okay?
right,
So-
right.
So we don't want to get into more court battles than we already have.
Well, that's the thing here.
The paperwork to keep track of 10% every year probably wouldn't pay for itself. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure it wouldn't.
Well, I don't think, we wouldn't keep track of that until one of these cases came back up. And then they'd say, okay, it was issued on this date, it's 4.5 years later, so that's,
And then keep track of it.
so that I do the math at that time and say, here's what you owe us.
Here's what the increased fees
I
would
mean, we wouldn't track,
be to reinstate.
I wouldn't track that on every permit all the time, and then as soon as they're closed out and done, maybe not.
Do you have a feel, Ryan, for what you would set as an engineer on when you start over essentially? In terms of timeline, 5 years, 10 years,
I think
15?
the big difference are we, is you hit it on the head, are we extending the old permit or are we making a new one?
So we're gonna extend,
I mean,
if we extended the old one for a certain amount of time, and then they start over and do a new one,
yeah.
what would, and I know that changes. 1 year they might have lots of big changes and then they might go 6 years with nothing.
Mhm.
But in general, is there a rule of thumb that we could follow, do you think, or not?
So new codes are coming out every 2 years, so I would say it would be a multiple of 2. So we're okay with, I guess what we're saying with the 2 year, the 1 year and the 1 year extension is we're okay with being 1 code cycle behind. I'd throw out maybe on, and this except maybe we're okay with 2 code cycles. But I think maybe in terms of talking in years, we talk about code cycles. And I would say at 2, maybe 3 code cycles old. Beyond that, I think you're starting to really, one of those 3 probably had something pretty significant in there.
So,
And if we permitted something that we could, as a town, could be sued over.
but we're not permitting it, we're extending a permit.
Yeah.
Like Eric said.
Yeah, they basically have their law record in their hand.
And so all we're doing is we're charging additional, the first year was,
It'd just be administrative fees is all it'd be.
look at it as the first year was free, the second year costs X up to, I don't know, if we split the code cycles between 2 and 3, that's 5 years. put a number on the dartboard.
So if you took, okay, let's just look at it from this point. If we're to reinstate that permit, put the inspection fees into, you have to re-go over drawings, then those fees would be incurred, and they've got to be passed on.
So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, you did it, you got the engineer going.
Can I end at 5? I'm hoping this gets us to the end sooner, but I could be wrong.
Okay, so it's 5 years?
So, well, I threw out 5 and I got 1 head nod, so I'm going with 5. But,
Okay, so
but
past 5,
Was it
it's
my head?
like,
these may or may not be years. They
He's
could
not gonna
be
say.
other, you know,
oh, it could be cycles.
I'll-
Could be
I'll-
centuries.
yeah, I'll tell you the units at the end of the discussion.
Okay,
It's irrelevant.
so if a permit goes past so many years, it's just,
So right
it's
now,
gone, I gotta start.
if these are yours for today, or for now, we issue the permit here, and they're good to here. By our current policy, we'll extend it to here for no additional fees. So
For
we
good
get to
cause.
here, no additional costs,
For good cause.
for a good cost.
Yeah,
Okay,
That's what the code says, for good cause can be extended 1 year.
all right, so maybe that's on, you know, maybe.
maybe.
Maybe. Now, the question is, what do we do from here? And I don't, to make this discussion a little, you know, here, whether this is 5 years or 5 somethings, from here on, we just say no. You know, we don't go
Start
past this
over
point.
again.
You start over, bring it up to code, whatever has to happen happens. What do we do between here, between 2 and 5 somethings?
Break the
Days.
difference up to the current fees.
Years,
Okay?
That's easy.
yeah.
And so if the fees haven't changed, if somehow we got from here to here without doing a rate increase,
They're good.
no additional fees.
See, that's why we run into a problem if we made up our inspection fee in the first 2 years. And then they wait till the end and need inspections.
Yeah, the argument
We
there.
better not do that though, have we?
The reality is we shouldn't, John's right, we should have money to do all these inspections, and we shouldn't, if they didn't finish, we shouldn't have done all the inspections,
That's true.
right?
Well, the
I mean-
inspections might be the reason they didn't finish.
But, the reality, usually when they didn't finish, it's not your, you know, A+ builders that come in, knock things out and go home. That's not who we're talking about
Right.
here. We're talking about places that had re-inspections and had other issues. And so, on that curve of who costs the most to inspect, which we can't, I've looked, we can't permit fees that way, right? I can't charge you a different rate than you, even if I know that you're gonna take twice as long. We can't do that, that's, anyway. It might be more fair, but it's not legal.
When it's gone, you know, and
So-
the other thing, where it's gone so many years,
Yeah, so by and large,
15 to,
I just said, by and large, these are the ones that are taking more time and more, you know, more enforcement, more inspections. And I know we have a policy, we do the first inspection, and then we come back and verify that you fixed everything. If we fail the second inspection, we charge you more until you get that inspection fixed. But that means we could potentially come back twice for every inspection. That's not in our fees. Because most builders, most of the time, we go out, we do a footing inspection. There is no re-inspection. We go out, we look once, it's done. And so there is no re-inspection. So it's a hybrid, right? And that's why we adjust it annually, is trying to balance that. We don't want to charge too much, but we don't want to run the town in the red. Most of these are those you know, we're using up all those re-inspects.
I think there should be some penalty. Because then you have a 5-year period that you can,
Might as well just issue the permit for 5 years, huh?
yeah. So I think there should be some penalty.
Well, I mean, John has one. I mean, if we raise rates,
Okay.
there's a penalty. If we don't raise rates, there's not.
what if, okay, they get a permit, they didn't get it done the first year, didn't get it done the second year. and they come back, and to come back each year, and there may be a small fee to extend that out for each year, but they've gotta come back to sort it out.
Excuse me, please.
Well, they're coming back anyway to get the inspections.
Stephanie, what were you thinking?
I was thinking that if, let's just say the permits are 2,500, 3,000, what are they?
Let's just 2,500.
Yeah.
For this one, they vary, so this is a small structure. There's other ones where they could be $7,000-$10,000, so it
And
depends
they
on the
can, it can be
complexity.
extended to the 2 years, but then you've got nothing after 5 years, I totally agree with that, but I think that it should be at least half to cover some of our cost. Or $500 a year, I mean, I don't know what that is.
Well, I like the percent, I'm
I
sitting
like
on
it
this
too.
side of the table, not that one. I like the percentage because it varies on, if it's a whole house, the permit may have been $10,000.
Okay.
If it's a simple garage, it may have been $1,000.
Okay.
And so I don't
Or
want to
shed or
charge,
something,
you know,
okay,
a shed or whatever.
Percentage would be.
I don't want to charge, I don't think you can charge the same for the whole house versus the shed. I think it's
And
got to
the
be proportional.
percentage, I
So-
like that,
But
so.
I like that over a number of that, and, you know, as we change our rates, then, you know.
So
that
let's
would-
say theirs was 2,500, then we're looking at what, 750?
Yeah,
If
thereabouts.
we do 10%?
But what if your rates go up to, from 25, say our rates go up to 5,000, and they pay 750? Then we're still
In the red.
in the red,
Also-
because the rates went up more than their 10%.
So my thought is over time, is the rates would go up, so they would be paying, you know, we're talking about the change in rates in the 5-year period.
Yeah,
So we're not, and that's why it says saying $500, because in 20 years, $500 might, you know, with a, you know, say we have incredible inflation, that might not be a hamburger. So we say a percentage, but you're right, we are, if we say a percentage of this, or what if we said a percentage of the current fees?
100% of the current fees, I'd say.
Okay, so these guys came in here. What if we take this year, we use the percentages, but we use the percentages, we calculate what the permit would be under today's rates, and then we discount it by,
What they paid.
either by what they paid, or by this percentage. So here it would be 0, 20, 40, 60, 80, that's where it gets 20, and 100. So we would charge, I guess I could have done that backwards, but you know what I mean?
You did do that back there.
Yeah.
What do you mean you could?
Backwards for me. Exactly.
I was
You when you
thinking
drop
while I was
that
reading.
pin, you're in trouble.
And right there, that's 90.
So we hope this is like less than 10% of the places we build, right?
We hope this is the minority, but we know this is not the only one we're gonna have, so we're setting a precedence, whether it's one that gets used twice or one that gets used 10 times.
So I don't know that we need to nickel and dime it too much. I think simplicity is
I agree.
easy. And then hope we don't have a lot of them, and if we do, we come back and readdress the issue.
Okay. So you said, you're good with just charge the difference between this rate and this rate? And if it didn't change, then there's no additional fees?
I was good with that until Stephanie said we ought to charge, they ought to pay something. And
Okay.
so I'm okay with that too, but I don't know how to add the something. So
Well-
to make it simple, I'm fine with what you just said.
Okay. So the something is we look at this, and then we discount it by
And
the
that's
top
just not
numbers.
way
by-
too complicated.
By 20, 40, so here, we
Well, that
would
makes it easy.
charge them 90%, we would charge 90% of that number. So this is 3,000, we're gonna charge them 90% of that. If they come in over here, and it was 20, I don't know, 2,500,
Yeah. Then you charge them
we would have
60.
charged 50%. We would, does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's complicated.
It's kind of
It's
complicated.
It is.
Can't
I
we
know
just
who-
go,
and I know who's gonna have to write this up.
yeah, I think easier is 10% per year.
Yeah.
Okay, I went to 20% a year so that it died at 5 instead of
At
10.
5, it dies anyway.
Okay,
Once you reach 50%, we're done, you start over. I would say.
So when does it start, at year 2 or year 1?
After year 2,
Okay,
After the two, so.
and if it's been extended,
okay.
then we're able to go 10, 20, at 30%, you're done.
So these numbers go away because we're giving that away
Yeah.
for free now,
You
or
pay 30%
included
more
with
than
good cause
what
now.
Okay.
what
So
your
we're
fee
here now,
was
and you're saying
to
instead,
reinstate, and then you got 2 years, you got 1 year
You
to
got 2
extend
years,
it for
yeah.
that, then,
And then you're gonna
but
get
after
up,
that,
and at 30%, you're getting a new one, because the code's too
Yeah.
old, 5 years is too long. If you wanna go 20, 40, 60, I'm okay with that, but I don't wanna get past 5 years, I think
No, I don't either.
we get crazy on that. But for simplicity, can you just do
you're
that?
saying,
So we're gonna say that the permit is good up until year 5.
If they come in and extend it?
so you're saying just charge 10%, 20, 30, 40%
Above the current cost.
of that number?
Whatever the costs are in that range, it'll be above that.
Well, so here the permit's $3,000, so it would be
Right.
35% of $3,000.
Right.
Okay,
Because
and then after this, it's just, if we all agree.
it
yes,
starts over,
okay.
yeah. Because if this rate's going up, you're still giving them, you're cutting them a deal, because they're not going to put back through the whole process of getting your plans reapproved.
Well, and I guess John, it addresses John's concern that if this back here was $5, yeah,
Right.
make it 10, math's easier. You know, it was $10 and now we're up to here because something happened. We are charging these rates, we're not basing it off of what they paid way
Right.
back when.
yeah, we're basing it off the. new
Current rate. And so what the 10, 20, and 30% buys them is not going back through plan check and getting all those fees incurred.
Right.
And what it helps the town, it keeps people hopefully
What?
moving
Still have
And
along.
then we still have some money for
They
inspections.
don't need a
and
plan
stuff
check
like
because
that.
it happened in year 0. We will extend it to 5. Their current plan is viable till 5 years. At 5 years,
Okay.
it's not. They have to go back to plan check.
Which I think is more than generous.
I think so too.
Are you saying that at the 4th year, say, you're
Okay.
gonna go the cost of a new permit there? 30% of a new permit?
Yes.
Or go back to the basis of the beginning
I'm
permit?
gonna calculate what the permit fee would be here today, and I'm gonna charge 30% of that. So that if
So
the costs go way
that's
up or
actually
way
more
down.
money, 30% is actually more money. 30% of 3,000 is more money than 30% of what your original basis was.
Ye-
They
Yes.
should have finished it.
Yes,
Yes.
so see, that's confusing.
But it's not as much as reapplying for your
Because
permit
then
in
it has
2
to
years.
pay a full 3,000.
But see, a better incentive is to say that's a bigger number at 4 years. Say that's 50% at 4 years of your original basis is more money than 30% of 3,000.
But the concern they had was that what if these change, right now, the permit fees have been relatively flat. But that could change, and so the concern is if this is really, really small.
But
then
see,
all of a
that
sudden
should
fees
be,
go way up.
that should be nearly punitive out there 4 years that you didn't finish. I understand there's people that are gonna have hard times. You know, maybe they lost their, you know, whatever. That stretches it out and they want it, now we're back in the money and we can go
Yeah.
on. But if you're not, if you're just meandering along with your project, trying to do it yourself and whatever.
Which is the
There
case
should be
of at least
punishment.
3 I can think of.
I have permits open.
I'm sorry?
I have permits open that will probably fall into this category. I just don't have time to do it. Too busy doing the town stuff. I just don't have time to build. So I will be in this situation myself.
How's this look to you?
Again,
He's quickly hitting here, so it might not matter.
Oh, okay.
actually, I'm not even close to there because I resubmitted.
Well, I think it's fair, because the permit expires after 2 years anyway, so. we're
Yeah,
getting
because
more-
we
we're
didn't
getting
have
more
this
than
in
fair.
place. After 2 years, I had to resubmit.
Yeah.
So, and if you're paying either 10% or 20 or 30 or 40% of
Current.
a current, and they've already paid that back, so they're just paying, instead of paying a full bore for being so late, they're paying
Mhm.
percentage of
Yeah.
the new one.
And just
I
because I heard
kinda-
it, I'm
I
just gonna
kinda
throw
like
out,
that.
just because I heard it. 20, 40, 60. Well, somebody mentioned it, so
Well, yeah,
I wanted
and
to.
I think that'd be, I think that's,
So this is 10% a year, that's 20.
yeah.
I don't really care, I just wanted, I don't want to ignore what, and I don't really care which. I calculated this either way.
So if someone had everything but their final inspection done in 2 years, and then they have problems and they wait till the 5th year, not another inspection's been done, nothing's been done, and you're gonna charge them 80% of the existing fees to come and do that last inspection.
Potentially, yes. So I'm not saying I'm recommending the number,
Oh, I
but
know.
I heard it come out, so I wanted to get it
Yeah,
out there and have it.
But that's what
That's what
this
this
plan
says,
says.
And
Yeah,
if they didn't get that last inspection, so they're not paying full board taxes either on it completed.
No, the county will come out. They're
County-
paying taxes. They come around. You'll be paying on it, whether you got the CO or not.
Okay. Okay.
so I can agree that that's
After-
punitive, John, I just wanted to put it out there for the discussion.
And after 5 years, resubmit. So this one would about fall into that one, wouldn't
It's getting very close to the 5.
it? It's getting close to the 5.
So I
And
did-
again, the idea is to get them to finish.
I guess the other part of this is, I would say it's a one-time, one-year extension. So regardless of where they do this in this process,
That's it.
it's one time, 1 year, and then they're over here in the Xbox.
Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
get to start in 2.5 years and maybe.
Which means if they start here
Uh-oh.
and come over to here, it's a don't pass go, we're done, we're not doing this
But
twice.
Eric's going, wait a minute.
Well, I think you still gotta be consistent with your
Yeah.
first one.
Yeah.
You can go 2 years. You have a year and then you can extend it by 1 year for good cause.
Okay? So the one in front of us
The
is
next client.
quickly hitting here,
decide.
so we're effectively saying he's good for 7 years. Because if they wait till right here, and we do,
And they pay 60%
Because
or
we're-
80%.
and I would agree, if we were issuing a new permit, I think I would agree with that, but we're not, we're extending this, we're extending the permit, which I think is different.
So if it's under
I
the
see.
5, but over the 4, we're gonna charge 60%?
So if it's 5 years and 1 day, we're in this X category. I don't know that we're obligated at 5 years minus 1 day to issue a 2-year permit, because then we're out to 7 years.
Yeah.
So if we're extending the permit, I think you can extend it for, you could extend it for 30 days if we wanted to.
Well, we would, but we're gonna end up going back and changing our code.
Maybe we go, yeah, after that fourth year, you know, you got up till that 5 years of cutoff.
Well, then cut off the 5 year and make it 4. If you're worried about going out to 7, don't erase it yet. It's just food for thought.
I can put it back.
So we get 60%.
If the idea is to get them done, then I think that's what you need to do. If they're willing to come back and put in for the permit, I think we should get them done. If that's our bottom line goal. If it's not, if we're looking at something else, then we need to relook at that. But we have a shell of a house sitting here.
With people living in it.
Sometimes. Yes.
There's been nobody there when I've been there.
Twice a
Oh,
year.
this one in particular, there's another one that's a shell of a house that people are.
Well, and we
I'm just-
do.
You know,
I just put this out there so that you realize that before 2000, there wasn't a limit on your building permit. You bought the building permit, there was no expiration. So that was prior. So that code was written in the 2000 code that we adopted is the time cutoff.
In 2000.
Yeah, that's when it was.
And we have some of those pre-2000
Yes, we
building
do.
permits in the town.
We have
issued by
open
the county,
permits.
They're now in the town.
We have open permits.
And they were done before, and that's the way they are.
And it's, expiration date is not there, so how we handle, do we handle those this way, do we handle it a different way, I don't know. I was gonna let that one fly and just settle this one.
Those were grandfathered in.
Well,
Maybe.
we haven't had any of them call for an inspection, so
Yeah.
someday maybe.
If we were 20%,
The next council might have to look at that.
60% at 4 years. then they could go another 2 years after that 4.
Okay.
But they got, that's it.
I wouldn't go the 2 years after the 4. They got 5 years to complete the thing. They come in and come up to date at 4 years, 4.5 years, they got till the 5th year and it's gotta be done or they're starting over.
Okay. So go ahead and leave 5. As Eric pointed out, maybe should have erased that. Yes.
Final inspection complete.
Yeah, 5 years.
Final 5 years, so they put it in and they get one.
So 5 years here, and then they're buying, well, we didn't decide this, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months? I mean, if we just said a year, that takes them to year 6, which is the 3 permit cycles we talked about.
No, so if they come in on day 4th year, middle of the year, and say, I wanna get caught up and pay my building permit, then they have 6 months to finish their house. or
Okay, so they have,
project.
so this is a hard deadline.
That's a hard deadline.
Okay.
If they
so
go past that, in order to get an inspection, they would have to meet the new inspection, they'd have to pay the new permit fees to have it inspected.
Okay,
That's just a shot out there.
Yeah, I like that,
okay.
because otherwise it's been going on.
So the guy that comes in, maybe we're making this too hard, sorry. The guy that comes in at 2.5 has till 5 or has?
He has till 5 if he needs it.
Okay.
In 5 years to build your house.
So we
Yeah,
should just
but-
relook at the whole permit thing and make it out 5 years,
Well,
adding these fees,
Yeah.
if it goes beyond,
2 years.
if it goes beyond the 2-year no.
Yeah, and then it's clear to them and up front.
Just jumping in and out.
So this one that we have that we're talking about tonight, Mr. Call has 6 months to finish his house.
If he's been 4.5, he has 6 months.
That's what it
At
is.
least according to this plan.
That's his red line right there.
Okay.
Guess he could appeal it if he wanted.
Well, if he doesn't finish his house, all he's gotta do is come back and bring it up to code, pay the fees.
Then you've
or
got
let
another
it
5
sit there
years.
for another 5 years, you know? So, yeah.
I still think we should give him the year.
I agree.
You think we should give him another year, like from 5
If
to
they come
6?
into 5,
One
and they
year.
come in before the 5th year, I think we should give them that year.
The 1 year.
Because they've stepped up and want to do it. I mean, they're the ones coming to us.
And,
No.
and maybe this should be a one-time, wherever they come in at, and it should be a one-time shot.
I also like the 1 year. When you come in and pay your fees, it's for 12 months. So if you come in back here, we're not automatically giving you
No.
to here.
Give
We're
1
giving
year,
you.
one time,
'Cause
one time.
The idea, we want to promote getting stuff done. We don't want
Yeah.
to, we don't want to encourage dragging it out. That would be counter to what we started.
Okay, so we give them a year from when they come in, and if they don't meet that year, then they go
Start
back
over
to.
again.
Then it's done.
It's
They
done.
got their extension and the permits
New permit,
expired.
new whole.
No matter
thing.
when they come in, they have a year from that point.
Yeah,
But if I come in at 2.5 and I burn up my year and I don't do anything, then I just start over with the fees at the 3.5 year mark and go to 5.
No, I'm saying you came in, you got your extension, you didn't do anything
Where
after
you
your
came
extension.
And that's where I have a
and your
problem.
penalty is based on how far out that
Oh,
was.
so John's saying I came in at 2.5, I paid my fee, and then something happened and I just couldn't get it done, so now I'm at 3.5. Can I come in and pay this fee and do it again?
Yeah,
And if we're saying no, then
It's a
then
one-time
we're
shot.
encouraging people to wait until 3.5 to start, which
yeah.
I see his point, I don't know that I have an answer.
Yeah,
If we give one person 5 or 6 years, we kind of got to give everybody that same window, don't we?
Yeah, well, and I can agree with Eric, if we're worried about 5 years becoming 6, then just cut this off and make it 4 years of red line.
6 years is a lot of code.
It's 3 cycles.
That
No.
could be a lot of code.
I mean, on,
Yeah, it could be. One could be a lot of code.
on a simple little garage, you know, maybe it's one thing, on a complicated house, I think it's another.
Yeah, with all the electrical and all the.
well, that's why it's percentage of the new,
Well, I know, but just in terms of what changes, right? I mean, what changes in an average garage is probably not much.
Yeah.
And again, some code enforcement guy's gonna write me a nasty email for shortly, but there's probably not much. What happens in, you know, a 10,000 square foot house with furnaces and, you know, electrical and,
oh,
you know,
mechanical.
all the mechanical and all that other stuff, you know, higher probability of something major changing.
So are you saying come in at 4 years, Eric, and
Well,
then you have till 5, or?
I just think if they come in before 5, you ought to give them the year to do it, no matter where they come in.
Okay.
That buys them a year at this rate, up to 5 years, and after 5 years, you just start over. We're gone beyond our code cycles, and we're not willing to take that risk.
And it's just a one-time extension.
Well, I think John's saying that you come in at 2.5, then you come back at 4. So if you give one person 5 years, the other one should be able to come back to 5 years.
But you have to pay it again?
Yeah, they'll have to pay again.
So he would pay more than the guy that just waited.
Yeah, you wouldn't
But-
want to do it that way,
Yeah, I mean, it would be,
but you
you're
could.
motivated not to, but we're not saying no.
So, okay, so we're about there, so let me get this straight. Here's what I tell the applicant. You can build for 2 years, and then I'll let you build some more if you give me some money. Sounds bad, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, it does sound bad.
But if you're not done in
things
within a
price goes
2-year
up.
period.
It does.
then it
No
is-
matter
Cost
what,
of living,
it will never be as
costs
cheap
go up.
as it is on zero to build a house.
Never.
Everything will go up.
I mean,
Everything will go up,
Despite what we may
including
be
the
charging, the cost of materials and labor is gonna be
Yeah.
a bigger,
Yep.
you know, and
Well,
we
and never
are,
be as cheap as it is
and yes,
today.
we are saying, give me more money. But we're saying our costs have increased, and so
We're
we're
saying
saying
give the
compensate.
town more money.
Well, we are as the town, we're saying give the town more money, but we're saying our costs have gone up.
The town's
Yeah.
costs have
The
gone
town,
Well,
the town's costs have gone up.
In that, we need to talk about engineering fees. They could go up.
Well,
Inspection
that's
fees
where
could
we're
go up.
using, hopefully that's where we're using the most current rate schedule to calculate these percentages. So if there was a radical increase, at least we're capturing 20% of
The difference.
that the difference, the bigger number.
Yeah.
Because you're right, they could explode, I don't know, but so far we've done a really good job of keeping them under control. In the last 2 years, we haven't raised them at all.
You're gonna have to keep getting sued.
That's not gonna last the 3rd year, by the way, but the last 2 years, we've done okay.
Cut new owners.
Okay.
So is that your instructions to us? You think we need this in a motion?
Can I make one more suggestion?
If you have to.
Okay, I'll sit down. My suggestion was gonna be residential only. Commercial codes update more frequently and are more complex.
Yeah.
Well, and involve more too, with the public going into them.
And if you're doing a building, if you're doing a commercial building, you need to get in and out.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, residential.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you wanna sit on it? Do you wanna pass it?
So
What
we
do
need
you
to
wanna do?
make a motion to make be an ordinance or
This will have to be a resolution, I believe,
a resolution.
which means that we probably need to bring this back to our next meeting.
So we need,
On this particular one, we've let him move ahead, so they are working on the house,
okay,
and we're just working out the permit fees. He submitted his application with another $500 deposit. He's dropped that off to us, but we're pretty sure he's good for this one, so.
so that's just, probably just about what these fees are gonna be.
The check we collected may work out to be really close to what we
Yeah.
calculated here tonight. That was,
So we need a motion to formulate a resolution for the
Yes.
next meeting
Yes.
So move.
and second it.
Have a motion and a second. Mary, what do you need? Before I call for the vote, what do you need?
Try to lay this.
You got it? Good, Carol. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay,
So are the percentages 10, 20, 30, 40?
yes.
Okay.
Brian's gonna have it. It is. Here he goes. It's gonna be on film.
maybe. Okay.
So we'll just do a resolution and add that to our permit fees.
Okay.
Okay. Planning department report. Wasn't that it?
Sorry, that was painful, I didn't mean to make it that bad.
No, that's good. We've had a lot going on,
Oh, no.
lots of shaking and grooving. Blue states have been down. Luckily. You're on that list, Ron.
Oh,
You want one of them too, Pam?
Did he give us one last time? No.
Oh, no, this is the new
It's
one.
a freshie, huh?
You bet, every month.
Oh.
These guys don't let me off anything. Every month I have to
Every month
report.
you gotta be.
I have to report. As you're going through that, I'll do a couple of announcements, things that we have 2 public hearings on the 10th of January at the Wasatch County. The Planning Commission will be holding a public hearing at 3 o'clock regarding a whole bunch of different things, one of which is part of the P160 on the east side of town. We have Deborah West and Willis Clyde are looking to rezone 150 acres from the preservation zone down to 20-acre lots. So
And this is where?
this is up on the east side of town.
All the, where the meeting's gonna
It's
be?
January 10th at 6 o'clock p.m. at the council chambers,
Heber?
yeah, at Wasatch County. So it's a planning commission
Where,
upstairs and the county council meets.
oh, okay, okay.
But this is a
Okay,
more,
what
this,
was the 3 PM? What did you-
well, that's the interesting one. So the Wasatch County Jordanelle Specially Planning Area has one on the same, January 10th. Now, this is a public hearing at 3 o'clock. I was gonna go just to tell them my displeasure in holding a public hearing at 3 o'clock when the public can't come. Which is what I told the council about their meeting at 3 o'clock. Same thing.
So that's why they're having another one at 6?
No, the one at 6 o'clock is for the P160. There's 4 different items. There's a bunch up in the Jordanelle Special Service District. They're getting ready to do a lot of construction up that area. Like,
Yeah, they got more than double the size of that.
yeah, like the one at 3 o'clock, one of the public hearing is Jack Johnson Consulting, 380 units going on the east side of the highway right there. So that's, I mean, that's the one at 3 o'clock, so clearly they don't want to hear from the public.
And then send their sewer water down to us.
Yeah, that'll get her coming, huh? Okay, any questions on the, everybody good with that report? Okay. No questions?
This is, yeah, no, there's no questions, but I don't know if I'm good with the report.
You're not good with it?
Yeah, there's a lot of suits been filed.
There is a few suits been filed, and I think we'll probably have to go into closed session tonight and bring you up to speed if you guys want to get brought up to speed on those suits. Okay. That's why it's on there, closed session. Okay, another thing I probably ought to bring you up to speed on, I had to go down to Charleston to a public hearing this week. And I'll just show you the map because it's easier. They're readjusting that subdivision on the other side of the road. So across 3000 South, they're vacating this road. Where it's built, it's in the wrong spot, so they're vacating this one and moving it to the shaded area. Nope, reversed. Gray is vacated, and this is where it actually ended up. So it will increase the size of the lot too.
So this is where,
This is the end of 3000 South.
South.
This
This
is
is
Eric's
what's
house.
okay, this is our existing, and then they're planning on putting this one
Yeah,
there.
so they've subdivided this into 3 lots,
Okay,
and this road was built in the wrong spot according to the plan. So they were
Is that the road
vacating.
with the flagpole?
What's that?
The road with the flagpole?
No, it's the one that turns off to the north. So after you go around past the flagpole, there's one that turns to the right,
Okay, yep, okay.
goes back to the
So
north.
they got their own driveways?
Well, this road, he's bought this one too, Mike has.
Oh,
So this will continue.
okay, well, that's probably good then, for them. So this is where they'll eventually put a light?
I don't know, if you guys will go on the Heber City website and look at the bypass plan, you will see the bypass is coming right into this now.
So the bypass is back on the map?
Yeah, Heber City and UDOT has held public hearings and public meetings, so this is the road we're talking about here. And the bypass actually comes in just above, right here. Comes right in above 3,000 south, so it comes and follows, what is that canal? Spring Creek Canal? Pretty much follows Spring Creek Canal, comes on this side, downstream side of the hayfields. Follows the flood canal.
Wow.
So, yeah, it'll come right in here.
Ellis house, about there?
Ellis, yeah, Ellis will be over here. Yeah.
About here, on the wrong side.
Yeah,
Bypass that a short piece of the road, it's gonna bypass.
it will come in before this road. So I don't know that we'll ever see a light with the bypass coming in right above it, is what I'm trying to do. Because if you come across the bypass, then they're not gonna want a light right there.
Yeah.
Even with the designation that we had with UDOT, they went to Heber City and they've drafted this other one. Just go on their site and look at it. Charleston was very interested to see that that was there.
That's gonna make that even a worse intersection.
It will.
The problem they've got is if they put the bypass intersection where it is, it's still in the airport overlay zone, and they're trying to push it far enough, that, and this is a good thing, that the airport can move to the north instead of the south. So they're trying to push that far enough that way. The problem is that the 3,000 south intersection isn't far enough over there. And there's other people who can explain that a lot better, but fundamentally that's why they're trying to push that further south, further down the canyon.
From what you're seeing, the airport is going to move to the north instead of going.
Well, there's a master planning process that has to happen.
Uh-huh.
That would make, if that's on the table, that would make that option viable. Without that, right now, that option, the move the runway north isn't even on the list of possibilities.
Okay.
But it's on the list of unwritten, it could be if some of these things can happen, so.
Then the other thing we
That would have a
had
benefit to the town, sorry, Eric.
to bring as the CDBG grant, that meeting's coming up. So are you over that, John?
I was, but, I'm not. Ryan and Mary's been doing it like all, and I think Ryan actually,
Last year, Mary and I went,
yeah.
and this year, I think with the delays and the water rights and some other stuff, I don't know that we're gonna qualify as having enough of our money spent by the time that meeting occurs. So we may, and one of the big points you get is by not, where you funded last year. There's a question you ask that you lose a lot of points when you answer yes. And obviously, they know, so when you were the bigger recipient, you kind of have to take a break for a few years usually. So I don't know that we need to, I don't know that we are going to apply or we should apply, or that's your call, not mine.
So that meeting's February 4th. Coming up on it, if we're gonna apply, we ought to do something. What's your feelings, John? You was involved with it. You can have this too, by the way.
I think it's great money. I don't know what we would do for sure, but, let's see, what day is the 4th? Oh, it's applicant interviews.
The 4th is a Monday.
So we have to know what we're gonna be doing by then. Ryan, is there anything that we would want to be doing?
I think the only thing we've talked about is continuing to improve the water systems, but we need to get the well drilled. Is the next thing, and those advertisements are going out Wednesday to get bids for the well, so we'll be getting that money spent here shortly. I just don't think we'll have it spent by that deadline. And the deadline is not February 4th, but it's the one fiscal year, and I don't think we're going to hit that.